Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. So today I want to talk about this Iran situation, and I don't normally make predictions on this channel, but I think I have some interesting insights on this that I've been developing, and I wanted to pitch to you. So basically, we know the situation with Iran. We've got the United States literally has no reason to hate Iran, right? We did an operation to get rid of the Shah. We installed these people who are in power now, and they're fundamentalists and all that, but we also support, Saudi Arabia and women can't drive and stuff like that. We also support that for some reason. And so the only reason we end up hating Iran is because of the disloyalty of Americans to America and their treasonous loyalty to Israel, right? Because Iran is not a problem for the United States, right? And so we know in 2001 we had General Wesley Clark said that there was some type of plan behind the scenes to topple 7 nations. We know the sixth nation has been toppled, Syria, and that was in 5 years. So that was by 2006. They're still working on it. 18 years later, after that plan should have been done, got to Syria, and now the next one and the last one on the list is Iran. And we know about Netanyahu going before the United States Congress a long time ago and saying that Iran should be toppled. We know everything in the United States is being oriented in this direction. We know that it was actually Iran who tried to kill President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, though that makes no sense at all. It was Iran who tried to kill them on the assassinate them on the golf course. That's nonsense. We know that there's an Iranian mothership doing these drones off the East Coast. That's obviously nonsense. So what's going to happen is there's going to be some type of false flag, right? There was a clip recently of a guy, and he was saying conflict initiation is very hard these days, especially in regards to Iran. He's like, we need to go to the traditional methods of getting the United States to war. And then he just goes down the list, and he's like, Woodrow Wilson wanted to get into World War I, but he had to wait till the Lusitania sunk. And then FDR wanted to get into World War II, but he had to wait till Pearl Harbor. And then we had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And so he's basically saying all these things that the United States has. The United States put the weapons on the Lusitania. We did the petrol embargo on Japan so that they would be forced to attack Pearl Harbor. Obviously, the Gulf of Tonkin thing was a false flag. We got an episode about that. And so what he's saying is there's going to be an event. And honestly, when this event happens, please don't be the dude waving the flag. Please don't do that. Say, no, we don't want war with Iran. This is not Iran, because Iran has no reason to do whatever attack is coming on the United States or the United States. It could be on a ship. It could be anywhere, Iran does not want to provoke the United States, so they would never do the said attack, right? And so my idea about Iran has a lot to do with Viktor's theory that with Israel it's always all in. I started pitching this recently because I really think that this insight's important. Now they do all in every time, but it's a completely rigged board. They rig the board and they go all in every time. The problem with going all in every time is it only takes one time where you go all in and you lose to lose everything. And I think about this in relation to Iran, right? Iran's much different than the Gaza Strip, than Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's much different than Assad in Syria, right? This is a totally different thing. And I asked Victor, I said, but do you think that they understand that this is a totally different thing? And he said, during the Iranian missile strike, Netanyahu was running to the bunker. He was running to the bunker. So he says he does understand. But I don't know if he does understand, even though he did run to the bunker. Because when you start to think about the Jewish mindset, there's such a hubris that you're just working with all these people out there. There's dogs. You're American dog, less than dogs who are working for you. And then these Iranians, like, how could dogs put together something that would destroy Israel, And so he did run to the bunker, and so he may understand, but he may not understand. And I don't think people in the United States understand. I think that they believe their message. So I did an episode, and it was called Iranian Missile Attack Was Repelled PSYOP. I'm going to put that in the description below if you didn't see it. You probably saw it because it was pretty recent, right? And they basically did this thing where Iran did a strike in punishment. I think it was punishment for the Mossad assassinating the peace negotiator from Gaza in Tehran, right? And it was also, I think, payback for the Israeli war crime of bombing the Iranian embassy in Lebanon, I believe. And so So the whole narrative was that none of these missiles hit and it just didn't do any damage. And then you could look at the videos, which I showed in the episode, of them just, the Iron Dome couldn't stop any of them, basically, very few of them. And so I think people in the United States, even in the government, I feel like that they believe the PSYOP to a degree. I don't know in the highest ranks of the Pentagon if they do or not. I'm not sure. But I feel like they're playing this all in hand with Iran. Though we have no qualms with Iran. We have no reason to sanction them. We don't care. Like, if we want to say it's like human rights abuses because the women can't drive, like that's the same thing going on in Saudi Arabia. So it's not that. And we just installed HTS Al-Qaeda terrorists in Syria. And so we're okay with that, but we're not okay with Iran. It's absurd. So anyways, I just feel like my insight here is that they could go all in on this and Israel could be destroyed by this. If you look at the numbers of missiles that Iran has, it's reported that Iran has over 3,000 of these missiles, and they fired 180 at Israel before. And I would say, if anything, the numbers are being underreported to make Iran look like less of a threat than it was, just like it was reported that the missiles didn't hit that did hit. And I feel like Israel's in a situation where they might provoke this type of thing and then end up in some terrible situation where they have all of the missiles of Iran, because there's no point in saving any if it comes to total war. There's no point in saving any. And you can't shoot them at the United States. The missiles that just don't have the range. You could shoot them at ships in the ocean and stuff like that if you want to provoke the United States, but you don't really want to. And it could get to the point where so if Israel does a preemptive strike, like Trump's even pushing for this nonsense about that Israel should go in and blow up the nuclear stuff in Iran. And then let me just detour to the nuclear stuff, because the nuclear stuff's insane. So 3 months ago, they were saying that Iran was weeks away from making a nuclear bomb. Now, weeks ago, they said that Iran was 2 to 4 days, we'll say, away from getting their 60% weapons grade to 100% weapons grade, and enough to make 4 bombs, And so they're running this nonsense about the nuclear stuff, which is complete nonsense. Because if they wanted to do it in the last couple of weeks, since they reported that it's 2 to 4 days, they could have just spun it up, right? And that they're not. Either they have, or they're not going to. Is my opinion. Because if they have, they would have, And if they're not going to, then it just doesn't seem like they're going to, right? Either way, they got over 3,000 ballistic missiles that they can shoot at Israel. Imagine what that would do. Just all of their stuff would be gone. Their water treatment centers, their power sources, their air bases, their you know what I'm saying? It would just be wiped, and it would leave them completely open and vulnerable to whatever type of attack from adjacent countries if they chose to do so. And so they're playing this all-in game that could be completely disastrous. Now, it would just be I don't want the U.S. to go rebuild all the countries, and I feel like that's the U.S.'s role. Because when this Ukraine thing's done, that BlackRock and all those people are just going to profit ridiculous by rebuilding all the stuff that we gave the money so that could be destroyed, And I feel like that could be the same situation in Israel. My main point here is that this could be an all-in situation that could be the end of Israel. Unlike all of so the 48-49 war, the Israeli-Arab war, could have been the end of Israel, right? But since then, what events could have been the end of Israel? Right? Not the 6-Day War. That was Ben Shapiro. That was a defensive war where they did a preemptive strike against all of their neighbors, right? So how can it be a defensive war? I mean, because we're using Jewish propaganda. That's Jewish propaganda from Ben Shapiro. That's nonsense. It completely discredits him that you would say that, because you could just Wikipedia. You could read any article on it as a preemptive strike. But that didn't threaten the state of Israel from ceasing to exist. That wasn't an existential threat. This Iranian threat is an existential threat, but only because Israel is going to attack Iran, not because Iran is going to preemptively attack them. They have morals, they have values, unlike the United States and Israel. And so I just think it's interesting as we watch this play out. Number one, look for the false flag. I mean, at this point, you've got to be aware that Iran doesn't want to provoke the United States. So anything done to provoke the United States is done by either the United States, Israel, Mossad, something like that. It has to be the case. And then number two, that this could be the all-in end for Israel, whereas no other situation around had ever had the potential since 48-49, in my opinion. Anyways, that's what I got for you. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. Not going to do a Wednesday episode on Christmas because it's Christmas. I'm going to do a Thursday episode, which I hope you don't have time to watch because you're busy spending time with your family. And then next week will probably be the same schedule because Wednesday will be New Year's. So I'll do a Monday and a Thursday. And I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. See you next time.